God, you are funny, but I got to tell
Well,
you,
so
it's a great tie, but we are going live.
I never. Well, didn't I just?
And on that note, I want to welcome everybody to the world according to that man, Ben Stein. I want to thank everybody that's going to be live in the YouTube chat. I want to thank everybody that's brought us this week into the Apple Top 100 and news and commentary. We are humbled by it. We appreciate it greatly. So whoever's listening on the YouTube chat, even if you just go and download the shows on Apple or any of the other podcasting sites, it's 100% welcome. We are honored and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Want to wish you all a happy Tuesday. It's just the two of us by choice, though, because we want to get down to the nitty gritty tonight of certain conversations. But I also remind everybody we're going to be doing more shows that are just audio. So Sunday, we did release an audio show for Father's Day in case anybody missed it. So you can download that. And we are going to start posting 2-minute clips that some people have asked. They're going to be called Ben's Shorts, and we're going to be putting them up on the YouTube channel and starting tomorrow, I hope. And on that note, I want to welcome everybody, of course, back to the world according to Ben Stein, actor, writer, provocateur, saint, sinner, lover, father, economist, grandfather, statistician, mathematician, but most importantly, Dr. Benjamin Jeremy Stein, with hands, the most gentlest hands in America. But I wanted to start with this because oftentimes Ben doesn't see the same news that I see, and he's often shocked as I tell him certain stories, as some of you that listen to the program often know, and I have to show him the stories. But this morning, I got a few emails from people, Ben, and as you get many mornings from people sharing their thoughts and stuff, and I couldn't help but think, while yes, we're nowhere near the bottom of where we might head to in many ways, spiritually, financially, as a country. We are the I showed you that story where the Navy chief, the head of the Navy chief, wouldn't say that
Chief of
capitalism,
Naval Operations.
chief of naval operations wouldn't admit that capitalism was a good thing.
Who is this person? Who is this idiot?
He was appointed by Biden. I mean, what do you, I mean? What's the
Well, he was appointed by Biden, or I mean, that's it's hard to believe that Biden would have paid any attention to something at that
or
level. I
it
mean,
was
yes,
he's appointed by, I'm guessing, people in this administration, whoever does the appointing. But that's not the point. The point is that
well, it is sort of the point because if he's appointed by if Biden interviewed him, for example, and talked to him, and then appointed him, that's one thing. If he's just gone up the line of command and run into somebody, uh, that's a different thing. I mean, I
no, you're
you know,
missing the bigger point. There's things
I'm
in
a
it.
former bureaucrat. You're not. I'm a former bureaucrat. You have to get along to go along. So it could well be that he just moved up the line of command and saw that the woke thinking of the moment is to condemn capitalism and to condemn the profit motive, and therefore we see that people who go along with that get promoted. And he might have just said, "Well, honey," to his wife or children or whoever he speaks to, I'm going to have to just, I don't really give a damn about capitalism one way or the other. I will just say whatever it takes to get me appointed to this very high level job.
And that's a huge problem we have going on now, because there are a lot of people that are saying some of the most batshit crazy stuff because they think, or it is the party line, the big party line that's going on in America right now. And yes, you do have to look at the administration or the regime, however you want to call it right now, that we have. But these things are actually acceptable in this regime, like we've seen with the Black Lives Matter flying all over. This is something that's being indoctrinated or allowed or encouraged because of this administration. So
Yeah, it's a very now that the indoctrination of anti-capitalist, which means anti-freedom views, is a very, very scary thing, and it is unfortunately happening in the Biden administration. Apparently, I'd like to know more details before I made a conclusion about that. But it is scary to think that our own government is indoctrinating people against a free enterprise system. A free enterprise system is the backbone of America, and if our military is being trained to disdain it and to sneer at it, that's a real problem. That's not just a problem; that's a real super problem.
Well, I mean, obviously, we know he said it. We don't know whether he's being steered or not. But the problem is the
I'm
country
sorry,
is.
he's being what? I'm sorry, we don't know whether he's being what.
We don't know who's steering his submarine. But the point being is that the country is steering in such a crazy direction that people that you would look at as a certain position in the Navy and say, "Are you out of your mind? Are you just?"
Well, wait. Let me back up, Jude. I admire people in the military. I love them. My father-in-law achieved quite a high rank in the military. My uncle achieved quite a high rank in the military. Um, these people are experts in strategy and tactics. They're experts in leadership. They're not necessarily experts in political science. And the fact that a naval, even a very, very high ranking person like chief of naval operations, would not be an ardent defender of the capitalist system, it doesn't surprise me that much, and it doesn't scare me that much. He probably did not spend much time studying it, and if it wasn't taught to him adequately at Annapolis or wherever he went, uh, well, that's a fault, a flaw in the system of running the Navy, but it is not necessarily a sign that the military is falling apart. I think we'd have to know.
I didn't. At no point did I say the military was falling apart. I simply
Well
said
put, well put.
you've basically set this picture of a person that was in Annapolis that was taught to critically think. When he was given a question of critical thinking, is capitalism good or not, he wouldn't answer the question. So,
Right.
so how can we trust a person that can't critically think about such a simple question with the power that he's been given?
I couldn't agree more. It's a very, very serious problem. On the other hand, I'm not surprised by it. I've spent time in Annapolis. I've spent time, well, not very much time at West Point. I've spent time at the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. Uh, I I do not see deep thinking about political science at any of those places. But bear in mind, your humble servant, your humble, very old servant at this point, has also spent time at Columbia and Yale studying and teaching about these subjects. And I don't see much deep thinking going on there either. It doesn't worry me that much that the chief of naval operations doesn't understand capitalism, has no understanding whatsoever. Um I think it's sad, it's disappointing, but it's not that surprising. It's just yet another marker on the way to hell for the American educational system.
By the way, his name is just so people. His name is Admiral Michael Gilday. He would not say whether he thought capitalism was racist during a Senate Armed Service Committee.
Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait. That's different, sir. Sir, just a minute. Sir, with respect, unless I heard wrong, that is not different. That's not the same as what you began the show with.
That's my mistake.
Yeah.
He was in. He was.
Is capitalism racist? Absolutely not. Not. And for him to not understand that shows a very serious lack of understanding of how the system works. But unfortunately, it is something that's probably being drummed into him and drilled into him, and is a very scary thought. I mean, we are paying, even people at a very high level in the military of the United States are being taught to hate the capitalist system, and that is a very scary thing, because obviously the military is an enormously important part of what keeps this country going.
So he said this in front of the Armed Services Committee hearing on today. Tom Cotton, your favorite, was the one that asked him the question. I like him too. I like him too. But the point being is, this is what in this regime, or what's going on right now, people feel that they're. I mean, what's scary is they're showing who they really are. That's it's not a matter of feeling free to say what you want. It's showing your true stripes or whatever he wears. And that's a frightening thought.
Maybe he wears polka dots. I mean, I don't look. I obviously something very wrong is going on here, and I mean, this guy sounds like he could use a little more instruction. On the other hand, in terms of defending a convoy from attack by a group of Soviet submarines, I mean Russian submarines, ha ha, big difference, right? There's he may be great at it, and that's much more important. We don't depend on him to define or defend the capitalist system.
I got a bit again.
Like
I'm gonna
you and Bill with Crystal do that.
But I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna be contrary on this, but I'm gonna say if you have to critically think and you can't do it, that's one of the most critical, thinking types of jobs that you just brought up. Obviously, he can't do one. So what says that he could do the other? You're asking a guy that to lead us in a certain to lead the Navy, and basically he's saying that he won't say that capitalism isn't racist. If you're asking that he can't critically think, how could he critically think there? Just curious.
Well, he can critically think about how to conduct a convoy across the North Atlantic from New Jersey to Great Britain. That's a World War II example. He can critically think about how to navigate the South China Sea against the Chinese and their artificial islands and their super good cruise missiles. So maybe he's very, very good at that. Maybe he's incredibly good at that. I mean, I don't know. I just don't know enough about it to know.
Let's just switch topics because we're not going to agree with each other on this one. I think
sure. We're not in red China. We are not at Columbia University, my college undergraduate. We don't have to agree on everything. Life moves on.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. I just think my whole point on this is I think this is being encouraged. It's being allowed during this administration, during this regime, and it's very dangerous. It's very scary.
What is being allowed and encouraged?
This type of speak, this type of thought, this type of action is being accepted during this regime. I mean,
what type of thought?
That capitalism, that a man can't answer that capitalism is racist.
Sure. Georgie Patton is super good, incredibly capable general, had certain very, very conservative, reactionary, right-wing views. Yet he was a great, great general and helped save the American and Allied forces at the Battle of Bastogne, or how it's pronounced, during the Battle of the Bulge. The fact that he knew very little about some other subjects in terms of, especially he was a very, very big time racist himself, that did not stop him from being a very, very good general. So the fact that these people have political views that I think are questionable or maybe even non-existent, that doesn't bother me at all.
So somebody that's anti-American.
No, he's not in. Sure.
You said being anti-capitalism is anti-American.
Sure, he didn't say he was anti-American. He said he wasn't sure that capitalism was not racist. And there are plenty of people who believe that. And yet they still like America and love America. Obviously, sir, that gentleman, that Navy admiral, has spent his life in the Navy. He must have a great love and affection for the Navy. I think that's the key element that we're looking for, much more so than does he love any particular clause of the Constitution, which every one of which is important, or whether or not he approves of some kind of a system of payment for civil servants that you and I might question.
Okay, on that note, if you just tuned in, you are listening to The World According to That Man, Ben Stein, and we are having a bit of a where we don't necessarily always have to agree with each other. That's what makes this show. That's what makes the Conservative Party or the Trump Party is that we could have discourse and agree and disagree. But I want to thank everybody that's been downloading the podcast. We are doing extra shows, so remember to sign up for the email benstein.substack.com, where we're going to just be doing audio only. We're not stopping this by any means, but we're going to be doing more of the audio too. So I want to welcome everybody back to the world according to Ben Stein. Before the show, we were also talking about the economy and inflation, and a topic Ben wanted to get into. So Ben, take the deep dive in.
Well, it isn't that deep. We are in a very unusual situation in which we have gone from absolute shrieking terror about another possible Great Depression because of the pandemic to a superheated, very, very powerful boom in which there is an astonishing labor shortage. I don't know that we've ever seen a labor shortage like this in peacetime, maybe ever. Uh, there have been points at which unemployment has been less than this, that's for sure. But a situation where employers are begging for workers and offering greatly increased wages and still not getting enough workers, that we have not seen in a long, long time, maybe ever in peacetime. Why are we getting it? Very predictable. Enormous amounts being dumped into the system by the federal government. Unfortunately, none of it coming my way or Judah's, but being dumped into the system to induce people to be go back to work and to pay their bills. Raises various questions. Your humble servant, Ben Stein, this old man looking at you from Beverly Hills, California, uh, wrote a book along with my sainted father, Herbert Stein, called On the Brink, about a hyperinflationary catastrophe in America, such as what happened in Weimar Germany after World War I, in which it took wheelbarrows full of currency to buy a loaf of bread. Yes, are we going to see something like that in America? Probably not, because we can print money in such high denominations that we don't need to use wheelbarrows. But something very fundamental is happening in terms of inflation in this country. We were worrying a very short time ago about whether we were having enough inflation to signal that the country was recovering. Now we're having way too much inflation, and it's scaring the bejesus out of people all over the country and I think all over the world. What's really, really thoroughly on top of that scary is, well, several more things. One, we never know when inflations are going to end. They start up and they take a while to get roaring, and then it's very, very hard to make them stop. And the next thing, and this is really, really scary, is this inflation being caused by China? Is China using this as a kind of economic warfare against the U.S.? Are they part of the machinery of conquest by dumping huge amounts of dollars all around the United States and all around the world to bid up the price of raw materials and finished goods, and thereby satisfy their own needs for finished goods and raw materials, but also to put America into a situation where we are suffering very much from a labor shortage and where people are suffering very much from not getting what they want to in life generally. We created a monster of consumer demand in which the consumers say, well, we want this, we want this, we want this, and it's got to all be in color and black and white. And if we don't get it, we're walking out. And next thing you know, you'll be seeing us on the picket line. People don't want that. That's scary to people, and so they'll pay wages usually.
Okay, so basically, we have extremely low unemployment right now, except
But it's not extremely. No, my dear friend, my dear
well,
friend.
no, I'm saying compared to where we could have been, where people thought we were headed.
Yes.
If somebody would have told you during the pandemic that we'd be at 5.8%, you would have thought that was a pretty darn good number.
I would have thought it was an incredibly good number. I still think it's an incredibly good number, but I think, and I wrote about this in great detail at the time, it's going to come along with inflation. And people, young people, which is almost everyone nowadays, don't remember what inflation, really bad inflation is like. But really bad inflation makes your life quite difficult. It deprives you of the benefit of your saving. It puts you up against very, very serious obstacles in terms of owning a home. And that is really, really a bad one because owning a home is an extremely, extremely important part of American life. And people are going to really find out how much it hurts them to be in a world of inflation, which is a world of hurt. I will respectfully, humbly give you some examples. I, your humble servant, live part of the year in the most perfect, but beautiful place on the planet, Sand Point, Idaho. It is in extreme northern Idaho. It is on a beautiful, big, big, big lake called Lake Pend Oreille. And it is a very, very, very beautiful, beautiful area. And along the top of it run some rail lines owned by the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Company, which is a subsidiary of Berkshire Hathaway, of which I am an infinitesimally small stockholder. You couldn't find me with an electron microscope. I'm such a small stockholder. But we are seeing amazing amounts of traffic running along those Burlington Northern Santa Fe tracks because of the demand created by stimulus here and in the PRC. The PRC is supplied largely with coal largely from the coal fields of the central and northern United States, and that's running at full tilt. So that's one thing. Second thing, with respect, again, this is all with respect, and this is anecdote and not data. My next door to our condos, there's a very wonderful hotel called the Best Western Edgewater, and rooms there. When I used to first stay there with my son, he and I would go up there by ourselves. Rooms there were like $49, $59, $69 a night, and it was just fine. It was a perfectly good price for us. We're happy with that price. And they start now at $279 a night and go up to $370 a night. And as July 4th approaches, where the hotel has a great view of the fireworks, the rooms are apparently going to be in the very high 300s, some in the mid 400s for a room that was just extremely modestly priced before that.
Okay, so you're talking about inflation, or you're talking about
inflation, because inflation have a huge demand because the society is just bursting with money because the government has been dumping money into the society at a fantastic pace. As I say, I'm terribly sorry they haven't been dumping any of it, Judah, in my path. But we are seeing America money creation going crazy.
So you brought up a point where you said it could be China. Why can't it be us? Why can't it
probably be? Probably at 99% likely it is us, but it could be China. It could be China. China. There are various ways and means that a country like China, which has more or less unlimited foreign exchange reserves, could be buying U.S. bonds and with dollars, and that would greatly jack up the amount of dollars in circulation, and it would tend to increase inflation, but it would also increase employment. So we are getting at this point a kind of dream world where we have very, very high employment, very low unemployment, and as of now, we do not yet have super inflation. We're getting to the superinflation quickly. And once we get it, Katie, bar the door. We don't know what happens after that.
But let's step back a second, right? We're talking about also, we could be talking about buying bugs. Okay, I showed you the unemployment number is 5.8%. During the Trump administration, when we were at the best of times, black unemployment, I believe, got lower than 5%. It was the lowest it's ever been.
Right
Trump now,
did a great job with that, an unbelievably great job.
But right now, black unemployment in America, I believe, is at 9.1% or whatever I read to you before the show. So it's not double, but it's getting close to double of the rest of the population. So these stimulus packages the unemployment, the PP, the extra money that people are getting every week in their checks or for not working is eventually something's got to happen.
Yes, yes, yes. Something will happen. It will be used to buy things and to chase goods. My sainted mother, God bless her soul, Mildred Fishman Stein, was an economist too. I think I'm one of the few people in America who had both a mother and father as economists. And my mother always would say, inflation is too much money chasing too few goods. And it could well be that it's not a certainty by any means, but it could be that the too much money is partly coming from the People's Republic of China. But certainly too much money out there chasing too few goods.
And people have no incentive to get back to work.
No, none at all. And there's a really interesting story. I mean, if you generally get what you pay for, we as a society decide we will pay people to take our money, our tax money, or our fiat currency printed by the Federal Reserve, and we'll pay people to stay home and or stay home and watch football or watch basketball or watch whatever they watch. You don't need to come to work today, boys. You don't need to go to work any day for the next 100 days. People will say, well, thank you, sir. Thank you. Yes, I will take your offer and I'll stay home.
Yeah, it's basically like taking early retirement. I mean, that's what they're doing to Americans.
Very, very much like that.
They're giving them bonus packages to stay home. And essentially, really, it is to buy votes. I can't see any other way around it. It's to become a nanny state. And it's to be, I mean, as somebody brought up in the chat, it's for universal income. I mean, that's really where they want to head.
I think they want to, I think, Judah, my dear friend, I think it's worse than that. I think that it's worse than setting up a universal income. That wouldn't be that bad. I think what they're really trying to do is make everybody just terribly confused and dependent upon the federal government.
Yeah.
And that's a really, really bad place to be. Once you have a society where everyone is dependent on the federal government, and that's the center of all activity in the society, that's but a hop, skip, and a jump to a dictatorship.
No, and I also think part of the what their mass plan is. I'm not talking about just financially right now. I'm talking about with their views. You know, I showed you that story about the trans athlete.
Oh God! You must share that story with our friends out there in America.
Well, I mean, I'm sure some of them have seen it. There's a trans athlete. Obviously, she's whatever they are. And they said if they win the gold medal, they're going to burn the flag.
She or he is quite to me, quite clearly not feeling very well.
Yeah, I think it goes a little deeper than that, Ben. And I think the fact that that's an acceptable story in today's day and age, that there's not enough pushback, that she should be allowed, that she shouldn't be allowed in the Olympics with that threat, because that's a terrifying thing. At a certain point, Ben, we have to shut this down. At a certain point. Shut
what down? At a certain point, we have
at a certain point, there has to be, when it comes to our country, if you are threatening to burn the flag in front of the rest of the world, if you win a medal, which it probably won't happen, there has to be repercussions. We have to, at a certain point, as a society, say enough. We've had it with this. I mean, there was a story today where in Jersey, where a school wanted to, or they wanted to take the holidays off of the calendar.
That I don't understand. Maybe you could explain a little bit more about.
Well,
that.
because that most of the holidays are offensive to people. Christmas is offensive.
Why
because Ben, why would you ask why? We know you can't wish people happy Christmas, so might as well just take it off the camera. Merry Christmas.
Calendar. Why would it be offensive to wish people Merry Christmas?
Are you fucking with me?
That. Why? How could that possibly be offensive?
I'm saying that every store in America has taken that out of the vocabulary. You can't wish people Merry Christmas. Store workers, you know this.
I do that all the time. You're with me in the store all the time.
I said store employees are not allowed to do it. My point being is the next extension is to just take it, and you can't say it anymore. There is no more Christmas. I mean, why else would you not put it on the calendar? You know, companies don't allow you to say this.
I did not know that. Bear in mind, I just told you a few minutes ago that my wifey, Alex, and my caregivers uh, come up with me to Idaho and spend not a huge part of the year, but a chunk of the year in Idaho. And people are all wishing everybody Merry Christmas all the time.
Ben,
Yes.
company policy in every big company in America is that you are not allowed to say Merry Christmas, that you are not allowed to say
crazy. That's just pure craziness.
and
That's
my
just screaming insanity.
and somebody said, and I believe this is a true story, this is the same school that doesn't want to say the Pledge of Allegiance anymore. So
but that's also screaming insanity.
yes, but Ben, my point being is, unless we start screaming back, these loud, annoying screamers are going to continually ruin this fabric and this thin thread that we as a country survive on.
Well, what is the thin thread? I mean, the thin thread is that you can be friendly and encouraging to people without offending them. I mean, for God's sake, what kind of pussies are we talking about who are offended if somebody says Merry Christmas to them? I mean, what kind of lunatic would be offended by that?
Obviously, quite a few people. You're right. It's a few. It might be a few lunatics, but as we've discussed before, the few lunatics are dictating our society right now. Are
Yes,
dictating.
Yes, yes. That's very scary. I tell you, as you tell me that, it breaks my heart. It makes me want to live in Sandpoint, Idaho. It makes me want to. Makes me want to, in other ways, makes me want to never ever leave my room. Unfortunately, I can't do that. I have things I have to do. But I'm an old man anyway, so it doesn't really matter what happens to me. I mean, as I have written in one of my many books of sayings, what happens to me is not terribly important. I'm just one person. What happens to me is not terribly important. But what happens to my son and my granddaughter, that is terribly important. That's
the world, Ben. Until people start fighting back against this political this culture of that's trying to really like put us into submission. They're trying to put a chokehold on us. Until people fight back against this, Ben, I don't know what I don't know what parents. I mean, parents have got to get out there and start fighting this insanity.
I agree. I 100% agree. I mean, and of course, I'm a little old. My son is 34. So, and let's see, how old is my granddaughter? I don't know, 8 or 9 or 10. I'm not sure how old she is, but she's the cutest kid in the world. But anyway, yeah, I agree. Go out and fight for the right to express your faith, and don't force it on anyone else. Don't browbeat anyone else, but to just casually express a wish that people enjoy the birth of a man or deity whose preaching was love. That's my God, that's crazy.
Okay, but I want to read you something. I'm going to read you. If you just tuned in, you are listening to the World According to Ben Stein. We're having a very lively discourse tonight. I want to wish my mother, who's in the hospital, a very
God bless you, madam.
Please get well soon. Love you very much, and I think she might be listening in the hospital. Please don't get yourself kicked out of that hospital by listening to us. It's not worth it. But I want to thank everybody that's been downloading the show. I want to thank everybody in the YouTube chat. But basically today, the Republicans, for people that aren't familiar with this, they're not going to vote on this bill, the voting rights bill, and the Democrat.
I understand that. You explain that to me, please.
Well, there's this voting rights bill that that's been what is it called, the
HR1,
the HR1 bill, and so Joe Biden came out and he accused Republicans of defending voter suppression efforts that amounted to a Jim Crow era in the 21st century.
Wait! That was a few days ago. Just a second. That wasn't today. That was
he literally made that statement tonight.
Well, he said it before then. Well, we know he's a boob. Let's face it, he's a boob. But I will say this. I want to say this. I'm going to say this. I'll say this till I pass away and they carry me away. I used to live in Maryland. I'd go over the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, a wonderful bridge. Before that, on the ferry, going across Chesapeake Bay, go through Maryland, through Delaware, and Delaware is some of the best fried chicken in the world.
Okay, Big Ben.
So let's give Mr. Biden credit for that.
But in all seriousness, Ben, this is top down. You said before,
it's terrifying. Terrifying.
Right. So this is. So it doesn't matter if it's an original thought from this dim-witted boob. You're right. It doesn't. I mean, this guy hasn't had an original thought probably in his lifetime. He's been plagiarizing since he's 4. He's, as other kids were racing cars, he was probably racing the car next to them. Never had an original thought, an original idea. The problem is that this boob wields a lot of power right now,
right?
And the trickle down shit that's hitting the rest of us.
Shit on the air.
And the trickle down crap that's hurting the rest of us, Ben. It's. I mean, it's. Yes, that's. I blame. I don't. It's not a matter of blame, but it starts at the top, Ben.
Well, it does start at the top, and it is a scary, awful thing. But we have to go on, put one foot in front of the other, trying to make the world a better place. And if the schools will not let us talk about, say, Merry Christmas, if my local grocery store clerk is not allowed to say Merry Christmas, I can say Merry Christmas. I can say to them, I can teach my granddaughter to be grateful to live in America. I say to I don't see my granddaughter anywhere near as often as I should, nowhere near as often as I should. I'm an old man and it's very difficult for me to travel. But when I do see her, I try to get across to her, Coco, you incredibly beautiful, wonderful child. Every morning you wake up in the United States of America is a great morning. I don't care what your classmates say or any neighbor says to you. Every morning you get to wake up in the United States of America is a great, great morning. And I hope a little bit of that permeates her brain. She's a very smart young woman, and I'm sure some of it does. Let us pray. Let us pray. Pray that we get through to people the idea that this is a country founded on belief in a just and loving God. And if we're not that country, something's really we're really in trouble. Really in trouble.
So getting back to it though, we pray, we pray and we have to do the work. It's not just about the praying. Okay. We have to fight. We really have to start kicking back butt. Enough's enough at a certain point. We've talked about people don't like being pushed in a corner, Ben. They are literally stomping their feet on people's throats. That's what they're doing. I mean, there's no other, and I don't know what people do. I don't know what the reaction, the outcome to this is not going to be a good outcome.
Well, wait a sec. Judah, you're my pal, and I love you, and I don't want to argue with you, but I don't think we're with respect, I don't think we're anywhere near a society where we are stomping on people's faces and throats and so forth. I'm very, very scared about the future, terrified about the future, absolutely scared to death about the future. But I don't think we're at the stage yet where we are stomping on people's throats, not anywhere near close to that threat.
So so one second, Ben, you've lost work because of your views.
I know, sir, my dear friend. I have lost a lot of work because of my views.
So how is that not stomping on your throat? So how is that not stomping on your throat?
Oh, sir, stomping on your throat is much worse than losing a paycheck. I mean, losing a paycheck is
Ben. It's just a figure of speech. Ben, it's a figure of speech. When people are causing you to lose income because of your beliefs, I can't imagine what's worse than that. Please,
I'll tell you what's
don't bring up Nazi Germany.
Please
Don't bring up the Ben. Ben, we're a hop, skip, and a jump from that. Okay.
No, we are longer, a hell of a lot farther from that than you think we are, Judah. I mean, the Nazis were extremely humiliating for the whole human race. Horrible exception. Nothing like that's ever happened in the United States of America before or since. The closest we ever had to that, I'm sorry to say, was slavery, which was an absolutely terrible, disgraceful, unbelievably bad thing. But we don't have anything like the behavior of the Nazis towards the Jews in this country. Nothing like it. And I hope and pray we never will. But it is up to us to make sure that our children and grandchildren know when we're starting to move down the path towards that and resist it with all our might and with our lives if necessary.
Ben, you've brought up so many things that are saying we're heading towards that. Okay, so a hop, skip, and a jump isn't that much of a leap to get to a certain place. When people are not being allowed to work because of their political ideologies, when people are when the government is asking you to surveil on your neighbors, I don't know how that's not a hop, skip, and a jump from what you referred to as Nazi Germany.
Well, sir, with respect,
I you don't have to say with the greatest respect. That means you disagree with me. Just say disagree with me.
I disagree with you, sir. It is absolutely totally different to fire a person or to take away his paycheck, or as has happened to me many, many times in Hollywood, to take away my writing or producing credit as compared to physical punishment or the deprivation of life. There's no comparison.
Okay, so let me ask you: do you not think when they were in Germany at certain points or in other places where things eventually happened that they said, "Well, it's just this right now"? I mean, in Venezuela,
yes, I absolutely do. Sir, America is not Germany. America is, at its core, America is such an incredibly wonderful.
Yes, but the people aren't
place
anymore. The people at the core aren't anymore. You have psychotic, and I'm not talking about a small few. You have a lot of psychotic people, Ben, that want to tear this country down. And the frightening thing is they're in the universities, and we know that. We know they're teaching our children, your grandchildren, these messages.
Well, I'm not sure which message you mean, but if they're teaching
that America is an atrocious place, that America
I agree. That's
that America is racist.
Teaching people, I couldn't agree more. That is still a long way from putting people in cattle cars and sending them off to be gassed.
But my question is, you could go back and look at Nazi Germany. How long did it take? 20 years?
But
to put people in cattle cars,
less than that. Hitler was inaugurated.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it wasn't like it just happened overnight. There were steps that were being taken over a certain amount of time that led to this.
Actually, unfortunately, you're being too modest. Actually, it was Hitler took office and took over the government basically in 33. I think it was 33, might have been late 32. And he started almost immediately initiating the so-called Nuremberg laws, which were very, very harsh punishment of Jews. That was right away. And within a few months of being inaugurated, weeks maybe of being inaugurated as chancellor, his opponents, not usually Jews, but social democrats and people who disagreed with him politically, were being put to concentration camps and beaten to death very, very, very quickly. It wasn't more than a few years before the cattle cars were rolling, taking Jews and other people who were deemed undesirable into concentration camps. That was not long at all. That happened very, very, very
Okay,
quickly.
so within 6 months, we're asking people to surveil on their neighbors. They're coming after the Second Amendment. Obviously, we know they don't enjoy the First Amendment. People are losing their livelihoods if they speak out against things. So that's within a 6-month period, Ben. In 6 months.
With the greatest, Judah, my dear friend, I hope and pray that I am being I hope and pray that I'm being realistic and not being Peter Pan and ignoring reality. I don't think America is to be compared with Germany. at all. In Germany, Germany was a country.
Ben, how many people were in the Nazi Party? How many people belonged to the Nazi Party?
Oh, by the end of 1941, probably 5 or 6 million.
Okay, right. So 5 or 6 million people. I would be, listen, I can't give the exact number of how many people belong to the leftist movement in this country, which is extremely strong, which is extremely powerful. You don't think these people like AOC or these people or Talib or Omar, given the power, would cause mass amounts of destruction given the opportunity?
I don't think I don't think Ilhan Omar. She's a special case. Very very clear to me, and this is just an opinion. To me, a dangerously unwell person. AOC, a dangerously unwell person. Tlaib, a dangerously unwell person. Some of the others, dangerously unwell people. But the great Schumer, a dangerously unwell person. But a level of sending people to
Ben,
concentration camps.
you mentioned Ben. You're talking about the head of the Democrat of the Senate of the Democrat in the Senate. The leading.
I know that. And I agree. He's a dangerous guy. I agree. All the more reason for us to work hard to get a Republican Senate. But I still don't think we're close to sending people to concentration camps. But Jude, I will tell you, you are giving me some scary thoughts. I already have a lot of scary thoughts, and
well, maybe you could shift the scary thoughts.
More scary thoughts.
No, but it's about shifting the scary thoughts. Okay, but and I'm not trying to give you scary thoughts. I'm just trying to tell you how people feel. You're the one that always has constantly taught me that nobody likes to be pushed around. We know Trump was a direct, the cause and effect was people stopped, like they were tired of being pushed around.
Right.
People are, and I don't know what you do right now when there is no bodyguard protecting those that are being pushed around. I don't know what those people are going to do. It's a very, we're threading the needle of sanity of our country right now. That's just my humble opinion.
No, I think there's a lot to that, but again, well, Judy, you're a very persuasive arguer and advocate for your point of view, and maybe you're right, but wow, it's a scary thought. I
want to ask you this, Ben. Ben, let me ask.
It's a very you've made a persuasive points here, and gosh, I hope and pray you're wrong today. I should say, by the way, today is my wonderful wife Alex's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Alex!
And,
happy birthday.
We don't want Alex to be facing her birthday with such depressing thoughts.
No, they're not depressing, Ben, if we acknowledge them. If somebody would have told you, Ben, that the Black Lives Matter flag 5 years ago would be flying at U.S. embassies, that they'd be an accredited group, a group with a voice of something, you would have thought they were joking. You would have thought the group that was
saying, Judah, you're making very, very good points, and perhaps I've been naively optimistic about the future of America, but maybe I have been, and I think I was among the first, if I may say this, to say Black Lives Matter has 100% misrepresented what's the real truth about violence within the Black community in America. That roughly, this is a rough number, 98% of the killings of blacks by violence in America are done by other blacks, or perhaps Mexican Americans, or Central Americans, and almost none was done by the police, and that has been more or less completely ignored by the media, and the media lets see if Black Lives Matter get away with this incredible, horrifying lie that the police are the main instigators of Black death in America. Gee whiz, it's a very, very scary thought to think that people really don't understand that. It's terrifying to think that people don't understand that. I mean, can it be that the young Americans really think there is a serious assault?
Yes, they do.
On the lives of Black people by the police?
Yes, they do. They have been inundated in the university systems. They have been inundated on TV. you constantly talk about it, with modern culture, with Facebook, with Instagram, with all these things, Ben. If somebody would have told you, Ben, 5 or 6 years ago that there would be people like Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, such virtual anti-Semites, anti-Israel, having such huge voice in the Democratic caucus, you would have thought they were crazy. You never thought this would have been allowed.
No, I would never have thought that, and you are scaring me, and I hope and pray that I'm not missing out on something very dramatic. By the way, I think one of the people you just mentioned is nowhere near as bad as one of the others. Now, what was your name? Miss Tlaib. She's obviously not well.
Ilhan Omar.
Elon Omar clearly not well. Who's the other one?
AOC.
Clearly not well. I don't remember who the other ones were, but some of them are worse than others of them. And it is a dangerous situation. I agree. It's a dangerous situation. And I'll tell you why. There was, in the early part of the 20th century and up through the 30s and even into the 40s, there were wildly racist senators and congressmen from the South in the Congress in positions of high authority, very high authority. But they were stopped cold by the media, who sort of made fun of them and constituted a sort of roadblock to their movements. But unfortunately, now with the most disturbed of the left wingers, the media is on their side. So you are raising a very, very good point, Judah, and I congratulate you, and I thank you for helping instruct me about this.
No, you're the one that instructed me about all this stuff. I'm just looking at the picture right now, looking at it, saying these are we got a generation of indoctrinated children out there, and we know
I spent a large part of my life giving speeches at colleges and universities and other places. And you would ask people about when World War II was. Who did we fight against in World War II? And I would rarely get anything approximating the right answers. So maybe the true facts about the world, the history of the world, have been simply erased and thrown down the memory hole. And now we just start with the year one, which is 2021. And what we learned is that for all its life, America was a wildly racist country. And thanks to the hard work and sacrifice of a few people, now we are on the path towards general equality.
Okay, and on that note,
I want to. True.
And Ben, I don't mean to scare you, and I know you're, as somebody brought up, you're a patriot, and you don't want to think these things about the country. It's very difficult to think about what path we're headed down. It's very difficult sometimes to think about this stuff, but we have to. We have to really start, and as scary it is, but if you just tuned in, you are listening to The World According to Ben Stein. I want to remind everybody to get our email, benstein.substack.com. Of course, download the podcast at on wherever podcasts are available, The World According to Ben Stein. And don't forget to give us a good rating or give a good review. And we are humbled that we made the top 100 in news and commentary this week. So thank you very much for everybody doing that. It is Big Wifey's birthday, and you never mentioned, and happy birthday, Alex. You never mentioned really before in the show how you guys met.
Well, it was July 4th, 1966. I had spent the day at the apple orchards of Senator Harry Flood Byrd in Virginia, walking around those beautiful orchards and picking apples, which he let the neighbors do for free. And then we drove back. My girlfriend at the time, a wonderful, 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 wonderful woman named Mary Just, but as wonderful as she was, not even close to the wonderfulness of my wife, the saint of saints. And we went, my wifey and I, Mary Just and I, went to a party at the State Department, black tie, dinner dance on the roof of the State Department to watch the fireworks and enjoy various hors d'oeuvres. And as we were doing so, watching the hors d'oeuvres and eating the hors d'oeuvres and watching the fireworks, I saw a guy I knew very slightly named Gary Wasserman, who was the friend of my college room, one of my college roommates, David Paglin, and and he was walking with the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen, wearing a light blue silk dress. And I looked at her. I thought, my God, that woman is beautiful. And she had a kind of Southern look to her and a kind of sashaying Scarlett O'Hara look to the way she walked. And I went up to her and I said, because I am not at all shy, I went up to her and I said, you're very beautiful. I said, I'm Ben Stein. I go to Columbia. I think I had actually just graduated from Columbia. I said, I'm about to go to Yale Law School. And this is my girlfriend, Mary, just a wonderful human being. And she goes to Barnard College. And who are you? And I said, I know you. You're Gary Bird. I know, okay, well, Mr. Bird, which is, I forget his first name, Mr. Bird. And I said, "Do you? What's your connection with this group?" And Mary said, I'm some intern. I work here at the state. I work at the Pentagon. Then she said, I work. The beautiful girl in blue dress said she worked at the Foreign Service Lounge, where foreign service officers and future ambassadors and other diplomatic personnel were given inoculations before they were sent overseas. And I said, well, I work just a few floors above you in the same building at the State Department. If I may, I'll come visit you. And Mary just looking daggers at me. And but she was a wonderful, wonderful human being and became a very successful lawyer. And not as successful as my wife, but successful. And so I started going to visit my wife at the Foreign Service Lounge where she worked, which is where they gave the shots for people going overseas. And I just she at first I think wondered who this very aggressive Jew boy was who was coming down and talking to her. But we fell in love, and that was in '66. It's now 2021. We've been together with a few breaks for I don't know for what, for insanity. We've been together a very, very, very long time. And I will say, in this entire world of the people I have ever encountered, she is the finest human being I have ever encountered. She is incredibly kind, incredibly forgiving. She has no animosity towards anyone. She is the least racist person in the world, and an absolute goddess, a goddess, and I worship her. I am not worthy to kiss her feet, and she has taken me back from incomparable acts of misconduct, incomparably large numbers of acts of misconduct. I can't even start to describe what a wonderful woman she is. And now I've known many, many, many wonderful women. I am addicted to women. But my wife is the saint of saints, a living, breathing goddess, an actual goddess.
And I have to agree with Ben. Listen, I love that story. It's I like the way you
Oh, wait, I didn't get to anything. I said, where are you from? And she said, Oklahoma. And I had thought she was from Mississippi, but she was from Oklahoma. And I said, what town in Oklahoma? And I swear to you, my dear, dear friends, in my mind, this old fat mind, the word Idabel flashed through my mind. Now, Idabel, whoever heard of Idabel? And that's where my wife had grown up, in a small town in Little Dixie, the Little Dixie part, southeastern Oklahoma, called Idabel, for Ida and Bell, the daughter.
So somebody brought up a great point. Somebody brought up a great point. Somebody brought up a great point that you met your wife while you were on a date with another girl.
Yeah, it's true. Well, that was I don't know what to say. I mean, my wife gave off a vibe of perfection, and still does. She still does. I came back from a trip yesterday, a grueling trip from North Idaho to LA. And I was very, very tired. I'd been on a trip with some wonderful people, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people. I was very, very tired. And I looked up the top of the stairs And there was my wife smiling, a big, big smile, and she looked so happy to see me. I've never seen anyone look so happy to see anyone else as she looked to see me, and I was just blown. It just blew my brains right out of my head.
And on that note, I want to wish everybody that happiness that Ben has. Everybody deserves that in their life. And that's the things, those are the good thoughts we have to have. And at the same time, we have to get into action and so other people could have that same happiness, Ben Stein, and joy that you've had for over 50 years, over 55 years, right?
Well, it's been me 55 years, yes.
Yeah, so 55 years. And I pray that everybody gets that. I pray that I get that. I pray, of course, for my mother who's in the hospital tonight, that she
Yes,
feels.
God bless Mrs. Friedman.
Yeah, we all pray for you. You're in our prayers. I love you very much. I want to thank everybody that's been listening tonight. I want to thank again everybody that's been downloading the show at an incredible pace. It's just, it really humbles us. It humbles me. And it also shows you got to put the work in. And work, as Ben says, and we learn in a certain fellowship. Work. Thank you again, everybody. We'll see you Thursday night. Ben, would you like to take us out?
Go down. I've done this before. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh, let my people go. When Israel was in Egypt land, let my people go. Oppressed so hard they could not stand,